Right, and it appears our very special guest is here. So
the
Jeremy,
WildStar himself.
Yeah,
the WildStar
all right,
himself.
Let's get this man a mic. Yeah. Like people are already demanding.
Yeah, WildStar. They're chanting in there. WildStar. Well, you see right there, right there. They're just chanting.
There you go. So, Jeremy, say hi. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello. I've been an MMO addict since 1994. So my background real fast is I started Turbine, which made like Asheron's Call and a whole ton of other games since then. And then I went to Origin, and I worked on Ultima Online 2 and the Ultima Online series. And then I went to NCSoft and did City Heroes and Guild Wars and Lineage 1 and Lineage 2 and other games and stuff.
So you've made a couple MMOs, just a few here and there. Some indie titles.
Yeah, some indie titles. We've managed the number 2 game a couple times, and now WildStar is, this is the goal now. Let's go for number 1.
Nice. So, really quick, for those 1 or 2 people in the chat room right now that don't know what WildStar is, why don't you just give us a quick rundown of WildStar?
So here's the short, PR hypey version. What we're trying to do is make the next big MMO that kicks butt, and there's 2 really important things for that. Number 1, leveling has to not suck. Very specifically, we want lots of combat variation. We do all this work with telegraphs and cool things where they change the terrain or they change the effects on the ground so that monster fighting is not boring and like click, click, click. We make sure that we have paths, for instance. Paths are play styles, so that if you like exploring or you like fighting or you like socializing, we toss more of that kind of stuff at you if you sort of sign up and say, yes, I like building stuff. Awesome. Go build up the towns. Go build infrastructure. Go change the world.
It's not going to impose a style of gameplay on you that you're not comfortable with.
Well, we impose a little bit because you ought to get out of your comfort zone, but in general, the goal is play the way you want to play. And so we give you housing, so you can customize, go dig holes in the ground and all that kind of stuff, so you can actually go, God forbid, make the world the way you want it to be. And then the second part of that, besides leveling up, has to be cool and fun, but then you got to have Elder Games. Because if you have no Elder Games, there's probably no better way to set fire to about $100 million than go make an MMO and forget to put in the Elder Games.
Yeah, you don't want to get to the end and then just be like, well, that's it, walk away.
Exactly. So for us, that means like war plots, 40v40, PvP combat, where you build towns and then destroy each other's towns. It means doing dynamic raids so that we can do cool raids and guilds compete against each other. It means solo dungeons where followers can actually, God forbid, have new content to do and consume beyond daily quests and stuff. So for us, about half our focus, most of the team right now is working on Elder Game content and will through launch because that's, you kind of can't ship without it. You can ship without it, just your game can suck very rapidly.
Nice. So let's talk about gameplay. Let's see. We got some WildStar player housing gameplay. I didn't know exactly what it is. Yeah, what is this? All right, so let's talk about the housing system a little bit here. People are already kind of asking about towns and things like that.
We'll do that. So I'll start talking housing, then we'll talk about how that applies to towns. So when you get your house, there's this group called the Protostar. They are basically the used car salesmen of our universe, and you get on, and very rapidly, level 6, they'll start selling you a housing plot. But in this story, for instance, they make it so that they ripped chunks of land up and out of the ground and thrown them into the sky so that they can sell more housing, basically. So it turns out that they sold you a particularly nasty chunk of land in this case. You need to go blow up the trees and kill the monsters and sort of earn the right to own the land on your own.
Now there's no hippies living in the trees that you have to...
Well, actually, some come out and kick out, actually. There are some things that live in the trees that when you try to kick out. There's lots of interesting combat going on. Exploding things in the environment or different things to interact with. And worst of all, it turns out this chunk of land they pulled up out of the ground, it turns out is actually a pet cemetery. And so ghostly nasties start popping up and trying to kick the crap out of you. If it followed up by even a giant boss you need to defeat to go do it. So, then there's when you start building stuff, it gets interesting. You tie it into our trade skills. So, trade skills have to influence this. Settlers get extra stuff as they level up. For the fab kits, we call them. They're fab kits because you fabricate a new house, you fabricate a new garden, or they're just fabulous.
Let's see.
For all those reasons, it's fab kit.
So will decoration items be shared account wide? So if you have a few different characters, will you be able to take accessories from one and put it in a house for another character?
So some is tradable and some's not. Some you have to earn it by, you go on a raid, you kill the boss, you get the head. You can only put it up on the wall of that character's house right now. Some of this subject to change. I was reading our beta forums the other day, and we were like, hey, well, it'll be nice. We'll give one house per character and not like one house per account. It's all shared. But some people actually do want to share that, amongst themselves.
They want all their characters to kind of living together.
Let's
finding out what happens when people stop being polite.
WildStar.
Yes, we want more
Real
of that.
world WildStar.
So the reality game in the most surreal universe there is. I don't know. We're listening to beta feedback, frankly, and so opinions are welcome on that. Whether how much that should be shared and how much that should be separate is an open question.
Nice. So how does this all tie into the towns?
So inside of the towns, the settlers get to do all this kind of housing stuff in the towns themselves. You walk around the town when you're a settler and you see stuff that needs fixing, the basics, like, oh, this farmer's fence is busted and there's animals that are escaping. And it's not really quests, it's you see this stuff and you can choose to influence it. We call that minfrastructure. It's like little itty-bitty things you can do to help fix stuff. Using this, you gain enough resources, you gain enough reputation, you can start building the cool stuff. You can build new shops, you can build new quest hubs, you can build new places where vendors are. The short form is you're able to do all this different kind of stuff. And what we're going to do is some big reveals in a couple of weeks where we really dig deep into this and start showing all the kind of cool stuff that they can do for reals. Because it's very easy to be hypey and like, oh yes, trust me, they can do cool stuff. About approximately 2 weeks, we're going to start revealing more of that in greater and greater detail.
Nice. So let's see right here. Jarnod wants to know, how do you balance not giving people things as soon as they want it with providing convenient systems of the game? So how do you kind of like piecemeal out the content, I guess is what you're asking.
So what we try to do is we have a trick as to how we build the world as a whole. It's kind of it's a design philosophy. We believe that you get interesting behavior by having a large number of individually simple systems that interact well. And so what's that mean? It means that if you're there's a minefield. You step on a mine that blows you up, throws you up in the air. Hey, that's pretty simple and basic. You can disarm them. Ooh, that starts a challenge. No, now it happens to be by a low gravity zone. Loftite is lighter than air, and so it rises you up in the air, or you can super jump through it. Well, now if you step on the mine in the low gravity field, guess what? It blows you twice as high, and now you're a scientist, and so you study it. And now it makes it twice as high again, and now you find a rare discovery, another dynamic element where you dig up cool random stuff, and now that makes you races it out. Now you're plate doubles. Well, now you can sort of blow yourself up in the low Earth orbit, and so that's an interesting combination of individually simple things. That same concept means that it's not so much trying to have something for everything, just reading the comments on the thing. Yeah. What it is, it's about having enough little pieces that you do the pieces you love and you ignore the pieces you don't. Yeah. If you're a noob and you're walking in a complex area like that, just blow up the minefield. Go do the little quests and things associated with it. If you're an expert, then try to lure all the monsters into it and do extra damage, and then you get kill chains and bonuses and all that kind of stuff.
It's like if you're good at baseball and you want to go play baseball, go play baseball.
Yes.
If you maybe enjoy watching football, just watch it.
Yeah.
You don't have to actively participate in it if you don't want to. What really strikes me about this game, like right off the bat, is like just how nuanced all the interactions really are.
Mm-hmm. Like
the way that your character is going to interact with the environment around them, and the way that will in turn interact with the other players in the game.
That's the goal. And that's why we're dumping more and more players in the game. We started off pretty simple by tossing in. We started closed beta, like 4 weeks ago, and we tossed in a fairly low number of players, like a couple thousand players. It sounds like a lot, but it's nothing. We've had 200, and I think Troy told me earlier today that we had we were over 250,000 people trying to get in the beta. And so 1% of them are currently in the game. Yeah, it's a lot. So we're going to up it fast. We're going to do a stress test coming up pretty soon. And really try to break the server, see how all those systems work when you got a few thousand people contesting for them. They work great with a couple hundred people contesting for them. How can you do it? How can you make it so that all that stuff really works well with that? And then when they break our servers, we'll start letting those stress test people into the actual closed beta and let them play with longer and longer access.
Nice. We seem to have a lot of people asking about 20 and 40 man raids.
Oh yeah.
So is that something you guys are working on or planning on for the final product?
Hell yeah! And so here's the thing on that. Because I don't know if it's a contentious issue or not, but some people probably love it and some probably hate it. We want to have some smaller sized raids so that if you're in a small guild, you have stuff to do. We like big raids. And it's not because we did some market research and it's like, 46% of the market likes big raids or something like that. We kind of like them. And we have a new combat that turns out to be pretty cool. And this is non-BS. Go watch our videos and stuff and then imagine forward what it's like as we're playing our raids and stuff internally right now. you do telegraphs on the ground, and this is cool. You get to see like, hey, I'm doing this arc attack, or I'm doing this big meteor attack, or the monster's doing some big bad thing on me. Well, it turns out that in the raid levels, those are fascinating because you mark out areas of the ground saying like, hey, I'm going to put a healing zone over here. If off tanks, run over here to heal yourself if I'm going to do it, or drop healing orbs onto the ground so that people can kind of move around and heal themselves if they're not the main tanks. Well, that's kind of interesting. It turns out the more shapes you put in, the more monsters are doing big stuff to like hold you off of this area of the battleground, or here's an area where you need to drag the boss to go do stuff. It turns out that's actually a ton of fun, and it's fun the more people you put in it, because those symbols on the ground aren't just showing a pretty thing saying, hey, do a sweep attack here. You're communicating to your buddies and saying, pull crap over here. Stand in this area, move to this area. You're communicating in real time.
Non-verbal communication.
Exactly.
Which saves you some time.
Well, because even on Skype, you got 48 people yelling at each other, and you can't, piece it out. You have some dude yelling more dots at you over in the corner, and it's very hard to coordinate. So we've given more tools to coordinate, and so we think it's more fun with more players. But we'll see. We need real players in there. If they get in there, it's like, oh, it's too hard to organize people. We got to figure out something.
That's the nice thing about MMOs. It's like if something doesn't work and you try it out, like you can always fix it later or tweak it.
Yeah, the danger is you take that too far and people go, oh, all we need to do is launch the patcher and we'll fix the game after launch, and that's BS. Real life doesn't work that way. You're even busier after launch, and so you need to have a good game coming up the box. That's why we've been, we already have, 220-something hours of content in the game. That's why we have even more that we work on. Every about 5 or 6 weeks, we add in something like 8 or 9 square kilometers new content. Square kilometers is like 10,000 miles.
That's a lot of. It's a lot of space.
Exactly. We measure in kilometers because it's easier to do with the graphics system.
Let's see. You've talked about how leveling can't be boring and how endgame has to be interesting. Can we expect some activities, little things in the world to keep us occupied aside from the awesome combat we've seen?
Yes. Step 1, combat has to not suck. Ton of monster variety, ton of telegraph variety. Make sure you're not boring, and even kicking. You shouldn't be killing 10 goblins in a row, or 10 rats, or 10 even megadons. It's got to be interesting stuff for combat. Number 2 is you take the path stuff, sprinkle it across that, so that about 25% of the content in a given area. Some places like 20, some it's like 30%. A healthy chunk is about your playstyle. It's exploring minutes, hunting relics and scavenger hunts and vista views and time races. If you're a soldier, it's holdouts and giant weapon caches and experimental stuff you go try out, assassination missions. If you're a settler or scientist, it's hidden stuff that we'll talk about more pretty soon. Nice. And then with that, what we want to do is, and so that's another chunk of your content. Then there's challenges. Kill stuff fast, and guess what? You get little mini missions to go kill stuff faster. And then you get to bob for rewards as part of that. Then there's discoveries layered on top of that. These are, one of the guys in the forums, in our beta forums, I hope this doesn't stick, but I'll reveal it anyway. Please don't make it stick. Please don't turn into a meme. He calls them our discovery potholes because they're like little broken pieces of ground. You see this cool stuff sort of peeking up from inside of it. But now I think of them as potholes. I pray that doesn't stick. Anyway, you see these cool broken pieces of ground and something erupts out of it. A buff station, a dungeon, giant monsters, chunks of randomized dynamic content is the short form. And then the goal there. And so all these little pieces add up to not just combat stuff, non-combat stuff, but there's a constant sprinkling. We call it high-density content or layered content. This is the stuff. Picture like Arkham City or Arkham Asylum. They did this really well. They took a map, and then they would have, like, here's the Riddler puzzle, and here's where you stand to go, see this particular thing laid out of zone, and here's the stealth mission, and here's the, that was a cool concept on their part. And, we started working on all this stuff, 2 to 4 years before that game ever saw the light of day. But, it's that kind of concept of making an individual area with different ways of playing the same area is a really strong one. And different games have done it with different strengths. We're aiming to really nail it and take it to a new sort of state-of-the-art.
Awesome.
We'll see if we're full of yes.
Well, I think you're off to a good start. We got time for like maybe 1 or 2 more questions. One more question. All right. Let's see. Biscuit's been asking a lot about the war plots here. I'm really interested in war plots, but concerned how they will be implemented. In particular, how matches will be set up.
Oh, that is a very intelligent question. The reason that's a very intelligent question is because it's large scale, coordinated, consensual PvP. So you don't get the benefits of like Dark Age of Camelot, where you have all this stuff is just in the world and people go muck around with it. And eventually, you get some critical mass, zerging around and killing stuff. Yeah. And so because of that, A, there will be matchmaking. B, there will be pre-made matches. We're going to talk about this in a lot of detail going forward, but coordinating that many people is non-trivial. So we're going to do as much of that as possible cross-server because It's not quite a 1%er feature because more people will be able to get into that and that, but this is hardcore feature. We expect that the average casual player has to really work to earn themselves into the first time they're able to do it. Well, probably over time we'll make more of it easier where there's like smaller groups you can sort of earn your way into it, but it's going to start off pretty darn hardcore.
Well, the game's, yeah, like I said, the game's already looking really cool. I'm really digging the art style a lot. I really like how there's a lot of gore, but it also feels like a Disney film at the same time, almost.
Yeah, we're kind of aiming for like animated movie, sort of like Pixar-y kind of style to it when we did it, and we love it personally. There's a reason in the U.S. market where at the top of the charts in almost every area right now you see Western stylized, cartoony / that style, because it's World of Warcraft for MMOs, it's Team Fortress 2, it's Fortnite's coming up as another good example, it's League of Legends, it's pretty much the top of every genre of Warcraft, StarCraft. Name a genre, and one of the top entries in the U.S. market, or the top entry, is some form of a stylized look, Borderlands. There's a reason for that. It's because your graphic engine ages much better, and especially you see it in MMOs because they take years to make, and you want your graphics engine to look cool the whole way. You want it to play on a low-end machine in China and that kind of stuff. You still want it to look cool and sexy and whatnot. Stylized graphics help you get there. You go ultra-realistic, and a month after launch, everybody's like, oh, here's the next big thing that looks ultra-realistic.
That's what we need. We need cool, sexy graphics for our show. Yeah. We need to replace ourselves with something
we should be
cooler
cel-shaded,
and sexier. All right. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for talking with us. I know you got other things to do today, so we're going to let you get out of here. Where can people learn more about WildStar?
So WildStar-online.com is the short form. We're putting out DevSpeak videos now where we dig deep into individual systems like housing. Movement just went live. We got more ones that will be coming up. Keep an eye out for those because we will talk like more or less normal human beings. Normal may be a bit of a misstatement. We'll talk like human beings about features in the game. Try to actually be non-BS about it, non-hype about it. Because we're a bit sick of that ourselves. And so, and just again, and people love stuff of it, and they'll hate stuff of it, and they'll tell us about it. One of the main things we do is listen, and so give us feedback, and half of it we will pay strong attention to, and half of it we'll probably say, oh man, that sucks, it's just the way our game is.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, thank you again, Jeremy. And,
thanks, guys. Thank you, fans. Good questions from the board as well, by the way.
Yeah, and if you guys want, we'll be doing another interview with Jeremy about the stuff that we're seeing today, so stay tuned for that. That'll be going up on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, that should be up there.
Here,
and it might be in a future episode of Week of Geek.
It just might make it. So with that, it is time for us to wrap up today, guys. We are at our present event, and we do have work to do.
So we'll be playing some WildStar.
So yeah, we're about to go get our groove on with WildStar. So thank you everybody that tuned in and everyone asking questions. I'm sorry that we couldn't answer everyone's questions. But yeah, stay tuned for more about WildStar because we will definitely be showing this game more. And if you want to follow us during the week, I am at Prof Robot on Twitter, PROF Robot.
At Bob Venom, that's BOBVENOM.
All right, and once again, thank you to NCSoft for hosting us.
Yeah, Carbine Studios.
Carbine Studios for making WildStar, and WildStar for being a game. Rachel is on tour this week. So.
That's the question we end this show. That's like usually the first question.
Yeah, it's usually when people ask.
Where's Rachel?
I'm sorry we're not pretty enough for you. But
it's a good way to end this week's show. Then we should call the show.
The week after. On the 17th, I'll be gone.
Okay.
But Bobby, you and Rachel will still be
okay.
Here. So stay tuned for that. And
our show, Where's Rachel?
Thanks again for tuning in, guys.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see you next week.